Hey guys, it's Kay. I was watching through the Persona 5 alt ship video, and I just realized that Procreate will record all of your drawings. And so, what I kind of wanted to do was sort of talk through my process as I'm learning to animate. I think that, sort of a beginner explaining their process can kind of be helpful to both beginners and also for other people watching that have more experience to kind of understand where I was going, like where my thought process was, and then it can kind of, some of the mistakes I made can sort of make a little bit more sense. But also, if you are learning, it's a good opportunity to just learn from my mistakes. So yeah. Okay, so obviously in the beginning I was just looking at a few references just to make sure that the characters didn't look super off, making sure that everything looked like, as as I could get without like completely copying the style. I didn't want it to be like super accurate like the anime. One, I don't know if I could actually do that. Two, I wanted to make sure that it looked, like me and not like I was, copying someone else's style, which is fine. It's totally fine to do that. But that wasn't what I was going for. I did like all of the big keyframes, like even just really roughly, I wanted to have just keyframes. And like most of the beginning sort of already animated without color before. Oh my God, I hate this part. This guy, like I could not get his face right. Like this profile isn't horrible, and then I have to keep messing with it, and it just is not right. I just could not get the proportions right. I end up fixing it later, but it looks so bad. I'd say that's my biggest like issue is just like proportions, and like I'm really bad at profiles and profile views, and like looking up and down I struggle with too. I also, as you can see here in this sketch too, I ended up having to fix Ren's face because it looks really weird. And then I'm honestly not real good at drawing hands, but I'm pretty proud of the hand I put there, and even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I wanted to show in this frame here, I wanted to play with the sweat because it's like a relatively easy thing to kind of animate and have it look really dynamic and cool. And as you can see, I keep going back and kind of like messing with the that one other frame with the face. And then I wanted to kind of incorporate this like idea of like Ren sort of just being in bed, unable to sleep, kind of just thinking about him like people do when they like somebody. And then of course I had to draw Morgana as well. He looks kind of like he looks really cartoony here, and like I end up kind of fixing his face to look a little bit more like he does in the game. And then this is the biggest mistake. If you're new, like this is like the biggest mistake you can make in animation. And again, this is just me being a beginner. This is the first like detailed, like I actually really tried on the art part kind of animation. You don't need to put all those shadows. And as you can see, I tried to put in pupils, and that just did not look very good. But it looked fine without the shadows. It didn't need all the shadows. And if I didn't have the shadows, I would have been able to save myself a lot of time later. And honestly, I think that just in general, it would have looked a little bit more consistent on these beginning frames a little bit. And I wouldn't have to worry so much about Makoto's eyes. And I know it looks like it's having a seizure, but I originally zoomed in to the side, and I had like zoom ins to each character, but it looked really weird, and I couldn't quite get it right, so I ended up kind of throwing it out. So that's what all those crazy like flickery images were. It took me forever to get this little blush thing to a place where I was like semi-happy with it. That's what all that fluttering was. And then I wish that I had put more frames in here in this part to show him his glasses fogged up. For some reason, I just think that's really cute. And then, of course, Ryuji's face looks kind of weird. And so I ended up, his eyes are just way too big. They look really like, you know, uh, it looks like his forehead is like leaning forward. And I ended up thinking that was weird. These really crappy drawings here, I was going to fix them up. And I originally wanted to have it to be very clear that Ren and Ryuji were sitting at the beach. And then I ended up giving up later. You'll see in just a second. And then I sort of fixed the face. I sort of molded it better. And here I fixed Ryuji's eyes. And then I decided to just put more effort into the beach here instead of, having the weird image where they're like sitting there. And yeah, honestly, painting each image and then putting in the shadows, it really took forever. Again, if I had spent more time just getting the flat painted images, like the images like painted with flats, it would have taken way less time. I would have been just as happy with it, and I think it would have looked just as good. And here I flipped the canvas, realizing kind of like how bad that looked. Oh, and then here, oh my gosh, I totally threw out this image. I wanted to have an image of them running before this, and it looks terrible. And I was like, oh, draw a background. And then I was like, but with shadows and stuff, it looks awful. And I don't know, I think the picture itself, if you just look at the two images, like the two characters, I think it looks pretty funny, but I just couldn't get the background right. So I end up scrapping it here in a few. I think it's after I add it with these colors. See how it was colored with the flats? It looked fine. And I don't think I added any shadows because I was like, you know what, it looks fine. But it was too late to change the others, so yeah, I just kind of rolled with it. And yeah, here I'm coloring Ryuji, and I gotta say, coloring, oh, it looks like I moved his eyes there, coloring the same frames over and over and over again, really tedious. My suggestion, and this is what I normally do in other videos that I've made, is lots of copies and doing that instead, using the copy tool, using the, I know it's sort of cheating, but using the copy tool, using the morph tools and stuff. And yeah, here's Ren's room. This really didn't take that long. And then of course I've got to color the end. And this was the hardest part. See how Makoto's like little like ear, like side of face is in frame? I ended up just erasing it. I was like, you know what, I'm not even gonna worry about trying to include Makoto and making it more of a like cutesy space, like just for Ren. And yeah, I chose the pink because the pink is sort of reflected earlier with Ryuji's face, and I figured why not use that same color. And yeah, I wanted to fix Ryuji's mouth in a few places too, because it just didn't look like him. And then I was like, you know what? We need a skull picture. And I gotta say, I'm really proud of how the skull one turned out. It's the image I'm proudest of. And this was the last thing I did. And it's just one of those things where you are doing a project and you're actively getting better while you're doing it. So yeah, that's it. That's how I did it. And yeah, obviously very beginner. And yeah, that's how I did it. So hope you enjoyed kind of watching my process and the sort of playback of how I did that. My first like animation where I really put in a lot of effort into the art. And in the future, I'm going to actually try to put more effort in the art. But like I said, no shadows. Not going to put in any shadows unless it is something that I can do. I don't know. I know that in Animate you can do some really, really cool things with shadows and make things really consistent. But as far as like 2D animation, like hand-drawn animation, no. Just let go of the shadows, friends. Just let go of the shadows. Just deal with it later. Anyway, thanks for watching this video. It's kind of rambly. I'm not really sure how to end this, but yeah, thank you if you made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching my very crappy animations. I will hopefully continue to get better and get some really cool new content out there for you guys. All right. Bye.